give up on your legal status. Many people fail to respond to RFE or file an application before the deadline. This is why we offer a strategy session for 15 minutes at no cost to you. Not everyone qualifies. First, you need to speak with our CARES team. We receive many requests, so we recommend you answer a few questions on our website, greencardguys.com. Our mission is to help people live and work in America legally. Go ahead and subscribe below and follow and share. Talk to you soon. Okay, folks, welcome to Green Card Guys TV. I'm your host, John Ting, here to answer any of your questions. And today's topic is about immigration court. All right, there's a lot to talk about it. And, a lot of people are concerned, of course, when you receive a letter, you have to show up in court. And, it's a serious deal, right? Because if for some reason you fail to show up, the judge will order you removed. So it's very important you take care of business. Okay. Now, you don't necessarily have to have a lawyer at your first court hearing. Generally, you want to have one, but generally, a judge will provide you some more time because essentially find a lawyer. Okay. So you don't necessarily have to freak out necessarily for the first court hearing, but by the time you receive that first letter, we call it notice to appear or notice of hearing, you probably had a good amount of time, lead time, to find a lawyer. So if this is just part of preparing yourself for next step in your life, essentially. And you want to make sure that, because I find that when people rush, they don't take the time, they may not take the time to understand fully what's going to happen with the immigration court or the strategy when it's a court-related case. So that's one reason I'm here live, to share these examples. So the most common example is that for what we call relief, we call it immigration court relief. That's what attorneys call it, a phrase, but essentially like your options to get a green card, options to even while in court, having removal proceedings, or options to even get your court case dismissed. Okay. Even before the pandemic, even before the PD, more people are talking about PD or getting file a motion to dismiss. That was our standpoint. That was our thinking, internal mindset. How do we get your case dismissed as a first strategy? Okay. And sometimes you can't. I mean, there's one time, at least I can recall in my career, where the government attorney, kid you not, the government attorney or just the Department of Homeland Security, they did not file a charging document. So if you know anything about criminal law, this is, of course, immigration is not criminal law, but charging documents, similar phrase that you hear in criminal law, like or in movies, criminal trial movies. But yeah, there was no charging document. So there's no charging document. I had like epiphany. I was like, my legal argument is my client should not be here. They don't need it. There is no case. How can you prosecute someone if there's no charging document? So with related to immigration, it's called notice to appear. That is what a charging document is called in immigration. So if for some reason you're in that fortunate position that there isn't one, but somehow you got a notice of hearing to show up in court, then yeah, that's a bit weird. In that particular situation, that person was detained. So the immigration court just happened to be in the same building as a detention center. So yeah, we were able to craft an argument on the spot and get his case dismissed. So very fortunate in that situation. So sometimes we take advantage professionally, do the right thing, and get a case dismissed. So for you, the first thing we look at, attorneys usually do, one of the first questions is, how long have you lived here? Or when did you enter the America? Most recent entry. How did you enter? How long have you been here? And have you ever left since your last entry? Because even though we phrase it as since your last entry, some people say, oh, well, I went outside to Mexico or Honduras or Canada for like a day. Okay, that's information we need to know. Okay. Some people say like, well, it was only a couple of days. I didn't think I need to tell you. Well, like, there's questions on these forms that need answers. And not only that, it can affect the legal strategy. So it's very important that you need to know this. Now, what I'm leading to with these set of questions, especially what lawyers try to think of, is have you been living in the United States for at least 10 years? Okay. So the most common one that people think of as an court relief or option here for residency is cancellation of removal for non-legal permanent residents. And there's another one that's very similar, is for permanent residents. Okay. So between attorneys, some attorneys join the show. We call it 42A or 42B. So I know this, I don't want to share this, seems too educational per se, but that's one option. However, you do have to show extremely and exceptionally unusual hardship, which is a whole other video I can talk about. So here's the deal. And you have to have qualifying relatives, a spouse or parent or child who has status, and not non-immigrant status, has to be permanent resident or a U.S. citizen. Okay, that's very important. If you don't have that, then you can't qualify for these two options, 42A or 42B. Now, I do see some questions here, and I'll see if I can answer them. Thanks for joining. If y'all enjoy the way we share content, just how we just share information in general, please, on TikTok, tap the screen. I think that's how you do the likes, or on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Please hit the hearts and the like button. Greatly appreciate it. Something about this algorithm, my marketing team says it helps. So if you don't mind, this helps give me a little more motivation to go live every weekday. All right, so let's see. I do see some questions. So I do see on TikTok. The first one on TikTok, someone said, hey, your friend got H-1B revoked due to multiple registration. Anyway, we can stay there. Stay here. Ooh, that's going to be a tough one. That's interesting. I haven't seen that before. Okay, sorry. But back to the topic of the day, immigration court options. Okay. Now, other than those two, others people know about applying for asylum. We refer those cases out. Which, by the way, if you're seeking asylum, you may want to consider a lawyer named Brian Manning. You can just Google search his name with asylum law or something. You have to do your own due diligence, of course, with any lawyer. Even though I've known of great results with his team, it depends on your facts, depend on his team's availability, just like any law firm. So just make sure, because anytime people get referred to us, or we always tell people, research about us. Make sure that you'll be comfortable with our process. Actually, what we just did today, we just got completed with one of our team members, is essentially a platform where we share information, resources, so that it's easier for our clients to access, as opposed to like 10 different PDFs or Word documents. So anyway, that should make it easier. We'll see how it goes, pilot program. So anyways, another thing to share about court options, essentially, other than asylum and cancellation removal, is ways to get your case dismissed. So yes, if you have a spouse who's a citizen, but if they're not a citizen, but if they're a legal permanent resident, we've actually had cases get dismissed where the government attorney joined our motion to dismiss and the judge signed off on it. Yes, even when the person was a permanent resident. And some people are concerned about that because, from month to month, if you're familiar with the visa bulletin, if a spouse who's a resident sponsors you, that's family preference. So it's not always current on the visa bulletin. It does change every couple of months. Retrogress is what we call it in terms of the visa delay. So that kind of give you an idea. But anyway, even that being said, it's still possible to get a case dismissed, because I know some people are a little hesitant about applying to become a citizen, or maybe they're not, they want to, but they're just not eligible yet. Okay. So it's a 3 and 5 year rule. So basically, if someone got their green card status through a spouse, then you can apply to become a citizen in 3 years. And if you're still married to that person. So otherwise, maybe you got your green card through your spouse or another way, but you got divorced from your spouse, then it's a 5 year rule. Okay. Let's see, because someone a couple people have contacted us the past couple weeks, and they said their 485 was denied, and we asked them like, well, what happened? What did it say on denial letter? And we do ask y'all to send us a copy of it or email it to us in advance so we can review it before our strategy session. But typically, if that's the case, it's not just always about lack of marriage evidence or if they're looking for something specific, but it could be that you weren't eligible to begin with. So maybe it did say, F2A based on spouse who's a resident showed married, or I mean showed current on the visa bulletin, but then when you have the interview or something, then the officer tries to argue, no, it's not, you're not eligible. So then that's when you need a lawyer for sure to argue that at the time of filing it was current. Okay, so so that's I always encourage y'all, don't delay. If you don't have the funds to hire a lawyer, I get it, but you need to file your case as soon as possible. Of course, make sure you do it correctly. But if you do need help later on, we do help people in the middle of a case per se, or later on when there's a problem. Of course, if you hire us from the beginning, we try to prevent any problems from existing. But yeah, we're happy to help even if you incur a situation afterwards. Which, by the way, to go full circle on this topic, just to clarify for y'all, if you have the judge agree and sign off in granting the motion to dismiss, then you don't have to go back to court unless maybe you got a DWI or you got picked up by ICE or got arrested by local police. They got transferred to ICE. But other than that, you don't have to go back. Okay. If you got the dismissal order, then you just let USCIS process your application. Okay. Assuming it was based on marriage or something like that. But the key thing here is don't assume that USCIS is going to automatically know that the judge signed off on the dismissal order. You have to send them a letter to ask them to reopen your case. And not just reopen, but because some people might not receive a letter. Some people do receive a letter that says administrative close for the USCIS case, let's say for the 485. All right. Because USCIS, there's a legal stuff right now, the legal stuff that you need to know. USCIS does not have jurisdiction to make a decision on your 485 case when you have a removal proceeding case ongoing, active. All right. Or even if it's administrative closed on the court side, you have to get it completely dismissed before USCIS can make a decision on a 485. So some people call us and say, hey, John, I've seen your videos about mandamus lawsuit. Can we file a lawsuit? And then we ask, just to make sure, do you have a removal proceeding case against you, anything like that? And they're like, oh, yeah, I do. So we don't suggest to file a mandamus case in that situation. Okay, got to get your court case dismissed first. And I do recall our team has shared with us that a couple of people have called in and said, yeah, the judge actually signed off on administrative closure. They think they're doing you a favor, which is great. Back in the Trump days, that'd be great. But now that we have President Biden in office, you really want to get it all the way clear cut dismissal. Okay. Because ultimately you want the green card. So you got to go all the way and get dismissal. Alrighty. Back to, by the way, folks, if you're just now joining, happy to answer your questions. Please post your question in the comment section, and I'll do my best to answer it. Let's see here. Back to TikTok. You said that he's been here almost 9 years on F1 and H1B. Yeah, man, that's tough because he got revoked. Well, it doesn't sound like it got revoked due to many company registrations if it sounded like he has been on H1B before. I mean, we're happy to take a look, but ultimately, so it sounds like revoked because of USCIS, not because of, he got fired. So hopefully he still has a job at least. Because if that's the case, then yeah, hopefully there's a way to fight it. Happy to take a look, but I don't know for sure if. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to answer any non-immigration questions. By the way. That is quite interesting. Y'all are a bit interesting. Okay. I don't know if y'all are bots or you guys just have so much time on your day to ask these strange questions that are not immigration related. Okay, so anyways, back to YouTube. NS, good to see you. Remember you had a medical exam situation where you provided it back. Oh, by the way, folks, if you're interested for a strategy session at no cost to you, you can call 720-740-4247. I can repeat it in a second. But you can also, because I don't know, something about TikTok, they don't allow us posting numbers or anything like that or websites. You can also go to freevisaquiz.com, answer just a couple questions, and one of our CARES team members will call you within 24 hours of the business day. Okay. Otherwise, you can download. I know some of y'all are a little shy. You can go to our website, greencardguys.com, and scroll all the way down, and you get access to one of our free guides. It has answers to common questions and an estimated step-by-step. Okay. So we don't have a guide for every single scenario, but I guess you could say most common scenarios. Okay, back to NS. You got your combo card approved. Congratulations. Valid till 2025. Yeah, it's about 2 years. However, under AP section, in the approval notice says CBP can parole you into the U.S. for up to 1 year. So that, and so does this mean AP part of the card can only be used for up to 1 year? Okay. Yeah, I believe what that means is that if you leave the U.S., you have to come back within a year. So I know most people that travel out wouldn't go for that long, but I think they just have that just in case. When it's DACA recipients, for some reason, a couple of times we receive one that says only valid for 1 day or 24 hours. So unfortunately, that's obviously not long enough if people actually want to travel out. And I believe the reason they do that is because they don't want customs officers or, the legal part. They don't want people to be confused, at least with customs officers to be confused, like, or just in the future when someone's applying for something, like what someone is paroled in with. Okay, so they want to make sure you're paroled in as a DACA recipient, not anything else for other folks. For you, NS, I'm not sure why, but I believe that means you can only travel out for 1 year. But of course, I wouldn't even do that. If you're going to travel, it has to be for a very, very important reason. Your next comment is you just had but you can use a combo card to travel until 2025 when it expires. Yeah, I mean, hopefully you get your green card back. I mean, not back, but issued to you before then, because I think you had a question. I know I have strange memory, but yeah, I think you had your situation involved a medical exam you provided a couple months ago. By now, it's now mid-July, so yeah, hopefully you get yours back soon. Yeah, and I think I shared with you that in the past, others have. We're fortunate that our clients have been approved for a green card before even getting the advanced parole or the work permit. So, man, that's just nuts, because I think a lot of it, from what I remember, our association, notes with our colleagues and stakeholders, is that they changed the process where I think one of the reasons these kind of cases were taking so long is because if you think about workflow, like I do every day with my team, that's how we get cases filed sooner than later, is that they have a workflow stopgap. Like it won't go to processing for the 485, for example, until the advanced parole is approved or granted to you. And before this new 2023 trend to get cases approved faster, this old workflow was like making these advanced parole applications that take at least 5 to 8 months to be processed. So it's with the work permit. So it kind of defeats the purpose, right, of getting a temporary work permit while the case is pending. So some people are getting the work permit closer to the date of the green card. So yeah, anyways, let's see. Yeah, and as travel for 3 weeks sounds reasonable in that sense. You did do an expedite request for the work permit that ended up approving you for the combo, which is a big surprise. Yeah, I'm happy for you. Can you let us know? Did you try the Emma website chat or did you call in? I know a lot of people recently, because USCIS updated their tools and resources, I don't believe they have Emma website chat anymore. That's the kind of some comments I've received online. Okay, let's see. Y'all are a bit shy. I'm happy to answer any questions. Let's see. Let me go back to the topic of the day. Topic. Oh, you said that you called in for expedite request and a day after they asked you to fax things in and proved you 2 weeks later. Yeah, that sounds about right. We've had the unfortunate situation where for some clients, USCIS did not accept it. How long ago was this, NS, when you asked? Because I asked for a couple clients in the last 2 weeks. And man, USCIS hotline has made it much more difficult these days. There's no more ML website chat, but they have updated a tool, so maybe it's easier now. We'll see. So I need to check on that today. Yeah, you're welcome. Happy to help you. Let's see. So you asked for it June 12 and got approved June 22nd. Yeah, that's amazing. Glad to hear. Oh, this is cool. That TikTok lets me invite others to join. That's pretty cool. I would love to do that actually in the future. Let's see. So we're playing it right. So yeah, topic of the day is immigration court. What you need to know to assess your removal case, removal eligibility. Okay, so let's say you're not you don't have a marriage case, you're not engaged to anyone, but you have. This is what we think of. I guess you could say last scenario. I wouldn't call it worst case scenario, but last resort options. Have you been a victim of a crime? Have you been abused? It doesn't have to be physical only. So what I'm getting at for that one is possible VAWA, Violence Against Women Act, and you don't have to be a woman, okay? You don't have to be a female gender. And actually just makes sense these days, especially with a lot of different gender preferences, I guess you can say, if it's politically correct to say it that way. But anyways, yeah, because of that, there's the U.S. Fortunately, USCIS in general, before the gender preferences was a hot topic, it's not just for females. Okay, so anyways, but yeah, we have a lot of clients like that for all genders, and seem to never get away from this topic. But anyways, yeah, so it's possible, and it does not have to be physical abuse. It does not require police support. Although most people believe that's the best way to get this. I mean, don't put yourself in a bad situation. This is, of course, if you're already in an unfortunate situation where you've been emotionally or physically abused, then this is an option for you. And some people don't know it, so that's why I'm sharing it, and let y'all know. But it does make the case stronger in terms of documentation if you're seeking counseling or have sessions with a therapist. Instead of just holding it to yourself, which of course I know it's, especially in, I guess, minority cultures, we tend to keep it to ourselves, especially for East Asians. We don't like to talk about it, kind of mentality. So pretty important. I try to focus on that for the team this year. My 2023 theme for the team. Let's see here. Oh, another one about kind of follow up with this one is that if you haven't been paid your wages, there's a possible T visa. T visa is called trafficking visa. So most people don't associate trafficking visa with not being paid wages. In fact, someone called the other day and said that that they have H-1B, but the company sponsor employer did not pay anything, and they just end up switching jobs after 3 months. But you still have a claim probably through your state, but also for immigration purposes. And H-1B, if you get a green card through your company or another employer, you might know that's going to take at least 2 years on average. So that's why receive a lot of calls, clients about self-petition, national interest waiver, which is a great option, but not everyone's eligible for that. So we're happy to take a look, but it's difficult to give a full assessment in a 15-minute, no-cost strategy session. So it would require a little more in-depth strategy session. Let's see. Oh, but to go full circle on that strategy, it's still, if you have the facts to file based on T visa, you can get a green card through T visa. So that might be a bit shorter wait time, even though there's a Congress set a visa limitation on U visa and T visa. That could be faster than getting green card through your company. In fact, it might be less scrutiny in that way, and then you don't have to depend. Of course, you have to depend on USCIS, but at least you don't have to depend on your company, because maybe they say sayonara, basically, right? So at some point they could stop your sponsorship process. So you wouldn't want that to happen. Essentially what I'm trying to say, folks, is if you have an option available to you, let's say you have two options, don't just pick the one that's cheaper. Okay, pick both if you can. All right, because let's say you get sponsored for EB, you start that process. Let's say you're halfway through and you're thinking, oh yeah, we're almost done. Oscar, I see your question. I'll get to it soon. Thanks. I'm almost done with the EB process through employer. But you have this situation, this opportunity to file for T visa or U visa, and you have a police report on file. You want to take advantage of that, because certain police departments, local law enforcement, they won't certify your certification form if so many months or years pass by. Sometimes we get calls about that, like, oh, that happened 5 years ago. The person got arrested, blah, blah, blah. We don't give up. I mean, maybe we don't go through law enforcement when we do check their policy about U visa to check how long it becomes stale where they won't certify it. But if you don't get law enforcement on board to sign it, we can go to the judge. It doesn't have to be the same judge that presided over the case, or it could be the district attorney. So you really have three options. We actually had a case where I recall that it was actually a sheriff's department that got involved as well, in addition to the local police department. So, and we knew it because we did a Google search, and we found sheriff's department actually had a press release. So the fact that they have a press release about this shows that they obviously care about the case enough to, you would think, sign off on the certification, and they did. Okay. It took some follow-up time. We email them or we mail it to them. They're not going to respond in one day, but that one took a couple months, but we still got it done. Okay. Because, at the end of the day, they're focusing on law enforcement, not necessarily U visa certification. So that's just going full circle. Now back to Oscar. Sorry about that. My team says I over-explain. How long does it take for U.S. citizens to petition for mom? So making an assumption here that you're the U.S. citizen over 21. So if your mom is in Mexico right now, or a person's parent is in that country, another country, it's essentially a 3-step process. Okay, number one, before we can go to the steps, we have to review, is this a family preference classification or immediate relative? This is immediate relative, assuming the sponsor is a citizen and over 21. Now, the other thing, when you figure that out, then there's the visa is immediately available. Immediately is a bit misleading. Of course, it doesn't mean your case will be approved in 2 months or 2 weeks, because immediately sounds like it's going to be a quick turnaround. But that's why I have to share the next thing. Is 3 steps, okay, for this. And that is, number one, the petition, the family petition. That's to demonstrate that your family relationship is, biological, a step parent, something like that, and then, or adopted. But actually, if you've been adopted, then you can't circle back and sponsor your biological parent. So, well, if you were adopted for immigration purposes. And then the next thing, step 2, after that's approved, is a case file will go from the USCIS agency to the National Visa Center. Now, the NVC for short is part of the Department of State. All right. And then anyway, they want you to upload to the system, mostly financial documents, also your the applicants or the foreign national, in this situation, the mom as an example, to have a police certificate. Essentially, in most countries, you go to your police department to ask for or pay for a police certificate. You can consider it like a clearance record, essentially. And if you do have some crime, arrest, or criminal history, then you definitely need to talk to a lawyer about that. And you might need to expect to have to file a waiver after the visa interview. Okay, that's a whole other explanation. But NVC, once you upload all that financial documents, mostly like W-2, 1099, tax return, your current a letter from your current employer. That's not always necessary, but it can be helpful. And then also after that, then you get an email, maybe in about 1 or 2 weeks, to say documentarily qualified. Then that means you don't have to worry about any more documentation in that moment for that stage. Then it's going to be kind of in a holding pattern to get the case moved over eventually to the consulate. So in this situation, if you see it at Juarez, and then, sorry, I mispronounced that for a second. And then you go to, then eventually it will be scheduled. Now, because of the pandemic, I know we're not in it right now anymore. We're post-pandemic, but they're still following what they implemented during the pandemic, is that National Visa Center won't move the case file until the consulate embassy says we're ready for more cases, which honestly makes sense. But if you, at this point, if you think if there's a family emergency or something like that, where it requires, allows for expedite requests, then you want to go ahead and request that. Okay, so you get that interview sooner. So with all that being said, assuming no expedite request, all the events, all steps involved, it could be 1.5 years on average. Okay, just on the safe side, we tell clients 2 years, but it's way better than if people are thinking about through a marriage case. It's way better for a marriage case versus fiance. Okay, in terms of timing. All right. You're welcome, Oscar. Okay. Gmont Wayne on Insta. Is it risky to travel with a valid travel authorization document with a pending 45? I would say it's risky for those who have been arrested or have any kind of criminal history. But if you have basically other facts or grounds for inadmissibility that could be triggered. So of course, the most common one is about crimes, but you definitely want to. But if you don't have any of that, or it should be fine. I'm just cautious. Of course, disclaimer here, everyone. If you ask me for advice here, you still need to follow up with attorney one-on-one to verify, because sometimes when we ask follow-up questions, I don't get the information that I need. But also, I just have so many follow-up questions. Yeah, you're welcome, Oscar. Yeah, I definitely get it. Unfortunately, people don't explain it very well, even when they're hired. It's kind of wild. But I told my team my team is asking me questions too. So I'm looking here at this other monitor. So I can't always be live too long, even though I know that helps with the algorithm too, apparently. Yeah, Gmont Wayne, happy to help, but ultimately try not to stay out too long. I just people ask me like, well, can I travel? And I say, well, look, if you're traveling for, I hate to say it, I mean, I love to travel too, my family does, but I would try not to travel unless it's an emergency or like for a work reason, like a work conference or something like that, or like important work meeting. But if you're traveling just to travel, I don't know, to Italy or something, then tourism type stuff, I recommend holding off. But again, if you don't have any crimes or any history like that, other reasons for inadmissibility ground, then generally speaking, you should be good to go. I just would hate, like, depending on the stage of your case, maybe you get a notice for biometrics, which in your situation would make sense that it already happened because you got the advance parole. Um, but if your case is based on marriage and it requires an interview, especially if your trip is going to be more than a couple weeks, sometimes USCIS will send you the letter interview notice, but you wouldn't know about it unless you're checking USCIS online. My voice is cracking up every time I talk too much. I need to have a bottle of water next to me. But anyways, yeah, just the timing of everything with that. You might not know about it again unless you're checking the status online. But even if you did, if I recall, they don't, online, they don't share like the date and time. That would be on the physical notice. All right. But some of y'all have the online account with USCIS and some of y'all don't. So it's not perfect. But if you do have the online account, then it's going to have it uploaded right on the spot. Okay. Well, folks like Oscar or anyone else, if you appreciate the way we share content, the information, how we explain it, please smash the like button, the hearts, um, and all that, the screen. And if you don't mind, welcome to go to reviewteamlaw.com, and we greatly appreciate any feedback you have for us. Even if you've talked with one of our CARES team specialists, because they do get prizes for customer service. So please mention their name. I greatly appreciate it, or they will as well. All right. So that's reviewteamlaw.com. Let's see. Got a lot of questions here. Let's see. It's great. Happy to see if I can answer. I could probably stay on for a couple more. Your I-130 was approved 2 months ago, and your 485 is pending. Your PD prior date was March 2022. Should you be concerned? Well, is this immediate relative or is family preference? If it's immediate relative, then the PD prior date doesn't matter. Maybe I missed an earlier comment. Just scrolling up. I don't see an earlier comment about it. It's marriage based. Okay. So I'm making safe assumption. Is your sponsor a U.S. citizen? If your sponsor is a U.S. citizen, then you don't have to worry about the prior date, even though I know it does mention it on the 797C notices, but it's more about the receipt date, for example. Okay. For assuming your marriage is to a resident. Okay. So yours is resident. Let me pull up the visa bulletin. You filed in March 2022. I don't think I can go all the way back, but hopefully it showed current at that time. Here's the deal, though, unfortunately, is that even though it could be current, just hypothetically, okay, not just saying for you necessarily, but hypothetically, well, I'll say what the law is. The law is that if you have a sponsor who's a resident, who's, a spouse, then any unlawful presence you have when you overstayed your visa, even though you didn't step outside U.S., which we don't recommend, then this pathway, it doesn't waive the unlawful presence. Okay, it only is waived automatically if your spouse, who's a resident, becomes a U.S. citizen. And you don't have to refile your case. We just, after your spouse becomes a citizen, then we just update them. Okay, so it's actually a good thing that your 45 is still pending. You want it to actually be pending until your spouse becomes a citizen. And so that is, but again, this is one of the situations you want to contact an immigration lawyer to just verify for you. Okay, because I'm just hitting the high level here. But yeah, because you don't want to have to refile and pay those fees if you can help it. Okay. Yeah, and if you get a situation where it's RFE, what we would do is ask for them to administratively close your case or essentially put it to the side until your spouse becomes a citizen. You can let them know, here's a receipt notice. Here's a receipt notice. So please, please administratively close the case until my spouse becomes a citizen. And that way, hopefully you can avoid having to pay another set of USCIS fees, which you have to, if you file the 485 again, it's $1,225 as of now. USCIS already completed its rulemaking process to increase the fee. So technically, at any moment's time, they could increase it because they already went through the legal process to get authority to increase the fees. That was a lot of information. So hopefully I answered your question to some extent. Okay. But of course, I like to go in way more detail, but let's see. Got to move on to the next question. Let's see. Oloro, you're welcome. Can arrest of I think you mean DUI? Can arrest of DUI have an effect on your VAWA case? Yes, it could. It certainly could. Will it prevent you from getting VAWA? Not necessarily, but it could affect you. But the more important thing about VAWA is they're focusing on the abuse. Okay. So, but hopefully, the way you phrase your question, it sounds like maybe it's still pending your DUI case or drinking while driving intoxicated. So I would, if a lot of people don't know, but maybe I'm saying obvious, I'm not sure, but if you have an immigration case and you had to pick, and you've been arrested and you had to pick which type of lawyer to pick right now, I would definitely pick a criminal defense lawyer first, because they do no good, essentially, if you pick a lawyer for help with immigration or hire one, and then you got this criminal case where you really need to preferably get that dismissed. Probably. It just depends. But so I'm trying to be unbiased as possible, just if someone has limited funds. I know some public defenders, they work hard just like any other lawyer that I know, but they can't control the number of cases. Whatever the district attorney tells them, that's just how it works. They have no choice. So yeah, if you have some money, try to find a private criminal defense lawyer. Bless the hearts of those public defenders. Thank you so much. If you know someone, please thank them. But yeah, I'm sure it's a tough job. I thought I banned this user. Don't worry, y'all. Let me see if I can report this person. Harassment. Okay. Hopefully that worked. Gotta get rid of those guys. What's up with these bots? It's pretty nuts. Okay, well, I think there's a couple more questions. And if you hate bots like I do, whether it's on your phone, LinkedIn, I get on LinkedIn. People talk about Twitter. I don't use Twitter, but my goodness, if you don't like bots, my goodness, yeah, let me know what situation you've been in. We just got to be careful these days. And as much as I try to use my Google Voice number for all these different forms, it's pretty, I still get these like random texts. Like, have y'all received something like this? Like, I think one I got was, hey, it's been a long time. And of course that person's not saved in my contacts. I just don't recommend responding to anyone like that. What in the world is going on here? All right. So let me see. I'm trying to find some information. How y'all doing today? By the way, if you're just joined on, welcome. My name is John Ting. I practice immigration law in all 50 states of America. Our office is in Houston, Texas. But we accept clients and help others point y'all in the right direction, even if you live somewhere else. We're not restrictive. I've been doing this ever since before the pandemic for like strategy sessions or consultations by video call, even in Houston. I was previously in Dallas. Traffic is horrible. I know. For y'all that live in LA, Boston, I get it. It's pretty bad out there too. But we're just trying to save y'all some time. That's what we learned during the pandemic, right? Just trying to save some time, make it more efficient, easier for y'all. So the way to contact us, you can give us a call, 720-740-4247, or go to our website, greencardtoguys.com. And if you're a bit shy, you don't want to answer a couple questions on our website contact page, you can download a free guide. Just scroll all the way down, and we have one about family, investors, and these are all different options to get status here in America. because you might want to check that out. It's answers to common questions essentially. But want to share my screen here or on YouTube and Facebook. But you can see there's several different ones. The most common one these days, unfortunately, is about mandamus. Okay, suing for your legal status. But we're here to help you. Okay, if you need it. Let's see. So a couple more questions here, and then I have to go to our next meeting. Anthony Sennett. Okay, if you're still on, thanks for your patience. Your I-360 has been approved. As for R1, can you go to the next stage? It depends on your priority date. Okay, so it also depends on your country of nationality. So you do want to refer to the visa bulletin and click on July because that's the most current one right now. And they update that every month. Okay, so you want to look at your Anthony, you want to check your 797C notice for the prior date. It's usually in the top middle area. All right. Candy, your question still remains. Did I miss your question? Sorry about that. It's been 7 months now, but your citizenship biometric still not updated. No appointment yet. Okay, my goodness. Sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that, Candy. Yeah, because we just filed for several clients 1 or 2 months ago, and we already got the interview notice. But this is Houston and Dallas, for example. So maybe your area, your local field office for USCIS is not processing as quickly. But if you go to the uscis.gov or just Google search USCIS processing times, it should take you to the webpage. You want to select N400 and the drop down, then for form type, and then select field office location. So for you, and it'll pop up the average timing there. Is it accurate? I love to believe. I would love to believe it's not accurate, honestly, because in some, especially for waiver cases, I just checked last week and it said like 40 plus months. It's nuts. It's really ridiculous. So yeah, hopefully that helps. But yeah, you want to check on that maybe, and hopefully, and there's a section on the bottom where you input your receipt date, and it can let you know, okay, it's time to you're allowed to submit inquiry, or it's still not. It's still processing normally, so you can't submit inquiry. You want to check that because if y'all call in, you might be wasting your time. Okay, I'm always thinking like advocacy, but in a situation when it deals with customer service on a phone, as if you're calling any other corporation, man, it could be a lot of waste of time. So you just want to keep that in mind. All right. So Anthony said, you said Nigeria. So right now they're working on. So yeah, you want to pull it up yourself, okay? Because I want to make sure I give you accurate information, and plus I'm toggling between different questions. But right now it looks like they're working on cases that are from Chart B. You want to look at that first, October 2018. But if you're in the United States, I believe they're referring to Chart A. So it could be a different date. Okay. September. Yeah. Okay. So hopefully that helps, Anthony and Candy 8080. Yeah. And Anthony, if you're looking at, or anyone that's referring to like the visa bulletin, they have what do you call, like the chart, essentially. The left column is all chargeability areas meaning countries. And essentially, if you're not from China, mainland China, India, Mexico, or the Philippines, then you rely on the left column that says all chargeability areas, except those listed. So right now, EB1, for example, and actually EB5 for unreserved, it shows the letter C for some of these countries. Okay, so hopefully that helps. For those folks that look at EB2 for NIW, they're working on the PD as December 2022 for all chargeability areas in Mexico and Philippines. Okay, China and India, they've got a longer wait time on that. So yeah, especially if y'all stuck in a different country or your country nationality and there's a war going on, like I know there's a lot bit more Russians and Ukrainians filing for EB2 NIW, but folks, not everyone qualifies. So I hate that, I hate that you would file for something and then, I mean, I don't want to call it a guessing game, but you just want to, we try to be mindful, right? We can't promise outcomes, but we want to give you as best analysis as we can based on the law and your documentation. Because a lot of people ask, am I eligible for NIW? We give you a checklist, and essentially, not that you have to have every single item as evidence, but if you're missing many things, then it might be a bad idea to file it. I feel bad if you file something and you don't have the evidence, right? Because ultimately, of course, everyone blames the lawyer. Let's be honest. Come on, people always blame the lawyer, even though we try our best to share all the information in advance. We try our best to do that. It's absolutely important to us. Let's see. I think I got one more question. Oh, two more. Okay. Did I skip anyone? If I did, I'm sorry. Let me know. Okay, Rayon Sam on YouTube. When can I sue USCIS? Oh, I love talking about this topic and my friends and colleagues. Your marriage case has been pending for 15 months now. No interview yet in Houston. You're in Houston, Texas. Okay, so folks, if y'all are concerned about the processing times, okay, since you're on YouTube, it's easier for me to share my screen actually. But let's see, present, share. Okay, there we go. Okay, so Ryan, so what we're going to do here, I pulled up the USCIS page. You said 15 months. Let me move this over a bit so you can see. So for those folks on Instagram and TikTok, I almost forgot what that one was. I'm on the USCIS website sharing the processing time schedule. I am going to click on your question was about 485, I believe. Yeah, you said marriage case, so 485. Form category, family-based. Let me look for Houston. That's where you're at. So folks, if you're interested in your current process time, you can do this. But in a situation like this, you want to just quickly ask me. I'm happy to look, but you got to tell me your application number, form number, and your service center or field office. Okay, I've clicked on processing times. That's 16 and a half months for 80% of cases. Now, people ask, do I have to wait 16 and a half months? Or for like waiver clients, people have filed that, 601 or 601A, do I have to wait 40 months? No, you don't have to. But since you're pretty close, I think, what did you say? You said 15 and a half. So, wait, you can wait a month and a half, but especially those folks that far out, because pandemic wise, cases like this for marriage for 45 typically took about 12 months, right? So if a month and a half pass and you're like, this is getting ridiculous, we're happy to help. Honestly, we're happy to help right now. But yeah, you don't necessarily have to wait another month and a half because next week they could change it. It's a bunch of bullcrap. They definitely do that, especially for the waiver case, because we check literally every week and it's been like notching up. And I get it because more cases are being filed for waiver. A lot of people are stuck here in the US or just stuck outside the US. I got one more question, I think. How long, Helen, how long your current case, assuming the sponsor is a US citizen and you entered with a visa, then it can take the 2023 trend and you've at least follow our proven checklist. It can be like 3 to 5 months, okay, on average, and you provide your medical exam. There's a lot of things that get involved with trying to avoid an interview or get your case approved sooner. My phone just told me I got 5 minutes or something like that on TikTok. I put a limit on how much time I use social media. I recommend it for y'all too. Technically, you can ignore it. Apparently, I just started that this week. So, but it's helped me with this whole mental health theme. I'm trying to limit my time on social media too. But thanks for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. So in the meantime, if you don't mind clicking the hearts or tapping the screen or subscribe, follow, we greatly appreciate it. It helps share our channel to others somehow. I don't know how this algorithm works, but it gives me the motivation to continue going live every weekday. I honestly would go the weekend, but my family would be like, "You're nuts," or tell me that I'm nuts. Okay, I think last question for now. Then I'll see y'all tomorrow. But it is. You're welcome, Naomi. How long will it take for a motion reopen on a sua sponte based on I-730 at BIA? I-730, we'll have to take a look. I believe we have a case like this right now, but BIA would probably take much longer than at the local court level, immigration court, removal proceeding, just because I think personnel, especially. Well, I don't know. Have you already filed it? As some animation, have you filed the motion already to the judge or to the court, or are you waiting for the government attorney to join the motion? But essentially, if you're waiting for the government attorney to join the motion, then that could take a while. But even BIA level, man, that's tough. I feel like they would take even longer because they have limited number of judges, right? You filed it already, okay? So. And when we file these kind of motions, we provide evidence. Let's say, for example, like this approved I-730. But I would also, in this kind of situation, when there's a removal order, depending on the person, especially if there's been some kind of crime or arrest record, you definitely we try to do a little more advocacy. And you already filed yours, but for others who have not filed it, if you have any kind of arrest history, you want to show some evidence that you have good moral character. Not necessary, but look, if you have one shot, that's what this sua sponte motion is. You basically have one shot because traditionally, not traditionally, the law is that you have to file the motion reopen within 30 days. So sua sponte basically means you get this one shot. Like you got to really provide compelling, favorable evidence to showcase to the judge, well, in this situation, appellate judge, BIA level, to grant that dismissal, reopen and dismissal, whatever you're specifically asking for. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Okay, that'd be interesting at the BIA level because technically, not so sure that they have to follow the ICE enforcement priorities in that sense. But if there's any time period in your life to try, it's now, whether the policy memo is in your favor or not, because it's the Biden administration. Fortunately, with judges, in this situation, because Trump's not in office, because they were doing wild things, all my phones are telling me I have less than 2 minutes. Oh my goodness. That's a good countdown. But anyways, the best time is to try now under the Biden administration, because who knows who the heck will be president next 2023 now, next January 2025. Okay, so, which, by the way, if you're a U.S. citizen or if you know one, encourage them to vote. Yes, I lean more Democrat, but hey, we're really trying to promote people to vote. Okay, who is a U.S. citizen? If you're not a U.S. citizen, please do not vote. Naomi, welcome to call us. 720-740-4247. Oh shoot. Or you can say that I just hit ignore limit for a second. Okay, some animation. Nice to see that. But Naomi, appreciate it. Yeah, you can go to greencardguys.com or probably find one of our videos and it should show the number. Okay, greencardguys.com. Thanks so much. We do offer free 15 minutes, no cost to you, strategy session. Just see if you point in the right direction. Maybe save you some immigration fees if we can. Okay, hopefully you can avoid those problems. All right, y'all have a good day. We wish you all the best. Take care now. Bye-bye.